Okay, once again, we're back. I keep getting phone calls. I'm gonna have to figure out how to make that not happen when I'm doing these broadcasts. But I'm new to this live thing. Me and Gary Hardy, I believe it is Gary Hardy. I think it is. Sorry, Gary, if I got your name wrong, buddy. We worked on this Ustream thing last night, just testing out some different aspects of it, and I hadn't quite gotten a grasp on how it all works. So forgive me if this doesn't work out perfectly. So back to the case in point, Bob Barney, point of order about Rule 8.03, the letter of intent to become a delegate. He called a point of order to say that, how can we consider this a fair process if we didn't get the letters that we were supposed to get from the potential delegates? And basically, the chairman told him that he was, what did he call it? Germane. Germane, that is germane. It is not in order for him to call that because basically, from what I gathered, basically saying that because it's already said and done, the nominations are already done, then you can't call that point of order. But as Bob was trying to point out, those nominations should be considered null and void because they did not follow Kentucky's state party rules for the nomination of the delegates. So he was trying to make the point that if we approve the nominations that had so far been put forth by the nominating committee, then we would cause ourselves and force ourselves to be in violation of state rules. Obviously, a very logical and well thought out point. But the chairman wouldn't hear any of it. And they called for I believe it may have been the chairman of the nominating committee. I'm not sure who it was that stood up over to the right side of the room and said, basically that they had made the letters available. And of course, that was never cleared up. They swept it under the rug and moved on. And of course, like I said, most people at the convention were only interested in going through the motions and getting the meeting over with. Uh, Again, for unknown reasons, to pretend like they were involved, I'm not sure. Um, so after that, we proceeded to move on with the meeting. And of course, the delegates were nominated as they stood, even though, we had generated the concern about the rules. It was ignored, and we here and me, it's funny, me here at Freedom Radio, I am going to look into this matter before the state convention. I have talked to David Adams and gotten some names as far as some legal representation that might be able to help us with this and clarify this rule and actually see that if it's going to be a rule, it needs to be enforced. Otherwise, the rule needs to be thrown out. I'm not trying to say necessarily at this point. Obviously, I believe in the aspect of trying to create a fair process for the nomination of these delegates. But right now, I'm not speaking to the fact of what should be done. The only thing that I'm saying is that, just as Bob Barney was saying, that it is a Kentucky Republican State Party rule that they follow this procedure, so therefore they should follow that procedure. I'm asking them only to follow their own rules, not to follow mine or the rules that I would have made, just that they follow their own rules that they have made. But obviously, we've seen time and again through this primary process that Republicans only, these establishment Republicans, let me clarify, these establishment Republicans, they only want to follow the rules as long as they benefit them. And it's the moment that they stop benefiting the establishment, that's when they begin to break the rules. And they really, they must have had a lot of practice at this, because it seems to me that they're good at pushing this through and pulling the wool, and somehow they still manage to come out of these meetings pretending like they're good and fair people, and I just don't even see how that is possible. Um, One big major point that happened today, They did allow U.S. Congressional District representatives or candidates for U.S. Congressional District representatives to speak today. Patrick Kelly spoke at the convention, and that was great to meet him finally in person and hear what he had to say. He's a very intelligent guy. Obviously, is a believer in liberty and individual liberty, and he's a good guy to vote for. I suggest that you give him your vote. He's running in the primary against Andy Barr. I'm really not that familiar. He spoke also at the convention. He's a very well-spoken guy and seems very convicted, and most of what he said I agreed with. But as we know, talk is one thing, talk is cheap, and that's all it is. Talk is just talk. We need people who will walk the things that they talk, and I can't speak to whether Andy Barr is that kind of person or not. So, that being said, I do know and do have a personal relationship with Patrick Kelly, and I can say from everything that I have gathered that he is a good guy, and you should vote for him. So that's just my suggestion. Uh, and it's funny because the guy's younger than me and more successful, which can be the cause for jealousy in some cases, but just as nice as can be. Got some really great philosophies on everything, and for the most part, I agree with him. Uh, if I have any disagreement with him whatsoever, it is mainly that he's too nice. And now I appreciate manners and absolutely believe in them and believe that they are important and believe that it is necessary for people to um, be civil with each other. And that is with one stipulation that only goes so far. That only goes to a point. When you are rising up against cheats and crooks and liars that are attempting to usurp your way of life, that are attempting to destroy this country that I have a newfound love for. Not that I didn't love it before, but certainly this movement has helped restore my faith in this country and what it can achieve. The people that I've spoken with and met uh, over the past few months alone is a truly inspiring thing, and thank you to all the people that have joined with me in this movement. Uh, but I think at this point we have been marginalized. We have been called kooks. We have been called everything, short of criminals, and even in some cases have been referred to as such. Uh, Now we know that this is just a tactic for, the attempted marginalization of our policies and our ideas, and of course of our candidate Ron Paul. Uh, but at this point, I think when we see these rules being broken in Iowa and Nevada and all of this crazy stuff that's going on within the Republican Party, the establishment people breaking their own rules when they don't suit them, etc. I think that at that point, when you're faced with that type of opposition,